God bless you.
Breaking news. Reverend Charles Stanley, who used his skills as an orator and pulpit of First Baptist Church of Atlanta to launch an evangelical global broadcasting empire, died Tuesday at his Atlanta home. Stanley was the founder of In Touch Ministries, a global evangelical broadcasting powerhouse, and for more than 50 years pastored at First Baptist, considered one of the Metro Atlanta's leading megachurches. His sermons are produced by In Touch Ministries and are broadcast in 180 nations and translated in 55 languages. Our hearts are deeply saddened by the passing of Dr. Charles Stanley, according to a statement from First Baptist Church of Atlanta. In this time of loss, we are comforted in knowing that his faith has now become sight. The glories of heavens are now his, a reality he taught us and millions of others around the world throughout his years of faithful preaching. In 1988, Stanley was inducted into the NRB Hall of Fame. Also a prolific writer, Stanley authored more than 70 books, several landing on the New York Times bestseller list. He brought many closer to their faith with daily devotional readings, prayers, and practical advice. No one can deny his worldwide influence, said Reverend James Merritt, pastor of Cross Point Church in Duluth. Merritt, like Stanley, is a former Southern Baptist Convention president. He's always been known as a man who preached the Word of God. His message was centered around knowing and doing the will of God. Despite his successes, the stalwart conservative, Stanley faced controversy in his ministry and personal life. He served 2 terms as SBC president from 1984 to 1986 and led the domination during one of its most turbulent times, the so-called conservative resurgence. Surgical conservatives swept moderates out of the leadership position and moved the nation's largest protest dominations further to the light on many cultural and political issues. Stanley was elected in 1984, but it was his second election in 1985 that is considered a watershed moment. The 1985 election was bolstered by a last-minute telegram of support from Billy Graham. After Stanley's election, the battle subsided and eventually the moderates moved on from the fight all away from the dominations, said Eddie Stenser, executive director of Billy Graham Center at Winton College in Illinois. A very public separation from his wife of more than 40 years, Anne Stanley, in the 1990s and divorce in 2000 drew shock and condemnations among some Southern Baptists who consider divorce to be a sin. On another front, Stanley stuck to his conservative beliefs about marriage, drawing criticism from some of his public stance against same-sex marriage and his comments describing homosexuality as destructive behavior. Stanley decided to step down as senior pastor at First Baptist in September 2020, around his 88th birthday. He was named Pastor Emeritus and told the church he wasn't retiring, but rather than dividing his time between the church and In Touch Ministries. We are right in the middle of COVID, and every time I prayed, I felt a conviction that God was going to open many doors for In Touch, and that my focus should be there, he said in October 2022. But even at 90, Stanley continued to come into the office once a week to check in with the leadership team. He had not recorded a new full sermon since 2020, although he did record shorter messages. I've found that at any age, and especially when you are my age, you have to keep planning and having goals, he said. May his soul rest in eternal peace.